G'day everyone and welcome to 7 Questions, a podcast that shares the stories and compelling lessons founders, investors and leaders shaping our economy. I'm your host, Wayne Gerard, founder and investor at Partner and co-founder of Create Financial. Through 7 Questions, we explore the founder journey, idea to legacy, uncovering the insights, lessons and defining moments that shaped each founder and the amazing business they built. Whether you're a first-time founder, serial entrepreneur, investor, or someone looking for insights on entrepreneurship and what it takes to build a world-class company, these conversations are designed to inspire you, get you thinking, and hopefully you'll find some timely wisdom that propels your journey. G'day everyone, welcome to episode 4 of 7 Questions. You're in for a great ride today. Today I'm joined by guest Scott Goulter, founder and CEO of water disinfectant company called Gen Aqua. Gen Aqua is a deep tech water company, and Scott's got a long history in starting and growing industrial businesses. He's a Kiwi that moved to Australia for a 3-week holiday 20 odd years ago and has never looked back. Very similar actually to our previous guest, Andy Hill, who moved to Australia from the UK and is still here. So there's something in the water, literally, and that's what Scott is solving. Gen Aqua is a point-of-use water disinfection company, and literally it treats Legionella disease in hospitals and aged care facilities. What's really interesting about this problem is that there's lots of solutions in the market that are really, really expensive. And when there's a large outbreak of Legionella in a hospital or an aged care facility, it basically creates havoc in that facility. Closes down wings, closes down wards, closes down buildings, and is also the cause of a whole bunch of disease that people pick up while they're in hospital. Legionella and other waterborne bacteria are on the rise, and so there really needs to be a point-of-use solution that, regardless of what's happening in the pipes, a technology like Gen Aqua solves or disinfects the water coming out of the pipes so that it's safe for human use and consumption. This is a great story. There's some really valuable lessons from Scott on his multi-founder journey, and I'm sure there'll be lots of things for you guys to take away. So I hope you enjoyed the conversation with Scott Goulter from Gen Aqua. G'day, Scott, and welcome to 7 Questions. It is great to have you on the pod.
Thanks very much, Wayne. I'm really excited to be here.
Awesome. Let's start by helping people get to know you. So who are you as a person and what moments and experiences shaped your founder journey?
Yeah, okay. So look, I arrived in Australia, Kiwi originally, arrived in Australia in the late 80s on what was going to be a 3-week holiday, and pretty much I've never gone back to New Zealand. I love the place so much. But I guess as a young New Zealander, when I arrived here, I couldn't believe the amount of opportunity that existed in Australia. And, you know, Australia is the lucky country, and I certainly believe that. And so as my founder journey, one of the things I did back in the early days was started a remanufacturing inkjets and toner cartridge business from my garage with a friend. And that grew to a point where we ended up moving to a 200 square meter facility, and we had 6 staff and became a reasonably successful business, which I then exited, sold that to my partner. And from then, again, opportunity is what drives me. So an opportunity came to move to Queensland and a position as state sales manager for a hot water company. And I took up that position, and within the first 6 months, I was out selling the whole country. So in Queensland, we would sell more than the rest of the states combined. And I ended up being the national sales manager and flying in and out of Sydney and everywhere each week, which was really exciting. And again, it started my journey in Gen Aqua, actually.
How did that influence your journey in Gen Aqua? What was it that inspired you to go ahead and start your own company, Gen Aqua? And what problem are you specifically solving?
Gen Aqua was born out of frustration, to be honest. During my hot water experience, I became an expert, not an expert's not the right word, and I don't like to use that, but I specialised in health and aged care. And one of the things I identified was that bacteria lives in water in those facilities, and there just was no solution to killing bacteria in those facilities. And it made me frustrated. I got frustrated by technology that costs a lot more, that really made no difference to the bacteria in pipes. And literally one day I was standing in the shower and looked up at the shower hose and thought, well, if I can put disinfection of water right there, then all of the bacteria growing in the pipes in a hospital or aged care facility is really irrelevant. So that's where the concept for Gen Aqua was born.
Okay, so you're solving the problem of bacteria that lives in the water networks and pipes inside organizations like hospitals, and your product is basically treating the water at point of use to disinfect it and get rid of the bacteria. Is that right?
Yes, correct. So what we're doing is, point of use is one of the secret sauce, if you like, or one of the secrets is being able to disinfect water at the point of use is really key to what we're doing. What we're doing though is we're using UVC light. So UVC light has been around for 100 years or so. It's very, very good way of killing bacteria on surfaces, in water, in the air. What's different though is in the last 15 or so years is you can now generate UVC light from a 3.5 millimeter LED. And that's what I recognized that morning when I was in the shower, and I looked up and thought, well, I can put UVC LEDs at that point. So yeah, it's exciting.
So it sounds like you've taken an entirely different approach to what else was in the market. How was it being done before you came up with the idea to put UVC light at the faucet or at the shower head?
Yeah. So nobody is, certainly in commercial and hospitals, aged care, there isn't anyone who's developed the technology to sterile or disinfect water using UVC LEDs. Point of use filters are something that are used by hospitals, and they typically last for about a month and cost a lot of money on every outlet that they need to be used on. So what we're doing though is we have the ability through our product to do hot water, cold water, warm water, and at commercial flow rates, which there isn't anyone in that space currently.
Wow, that's pretty cool. So you've built a product and you've kind of leveraged the experience you had, in your previous career building toner cartridges and creating manufacturing facilities.
Yep.
And how did you go about validating the product work? Did you work with universities? How did you test it? How do we know it works?
Yeah. Okay. So using some of my contacts, and as I said, I was heavily involved in health and aged care. I asked a friend within a large Brisbane hospital back in December of 2021 if we could run a trial for our device in their hospital, and they had a problem with Legionella and other bacteria in their water, so they were looking for a solution. They said yes, and we went and installed 2 devices in one of their wards in December and got our first water results, came back, and unfortunately the devices failed miserably, which it was kind of like time to slit your wrist almost, but not really. In hindsight, I look, if it was easy, everyone would be doing it. So in hindsight, that's a good thing. We went away and redesigned. And in late July of 2022, the hospital again agreed that we could put a couple of devices in their ward, and we went and installed them. And then I'll never forget, the 1st of August 2022, the water results came back, and in the control basin, they had Legionnaire's disease or Legionella, and they also had really high bacterial counts. I've never seen bacterial counts in any facility like that before. And where our device was installed, so we had a device installed underneath the basin mixer, we had no Legionella, and no bacterial counts whatsoever, which gave us proof of concept. So we had the in the field results, which was great. We then sent our device off to SGS laboratories and asked them to test it. And they came back and said, yeah, you got 99.9% disinfection rate or killing set types of bacteria. And we've since we engaged the University of Queensland to try our device and basically try and make it fail. And again, we had excellent results from that, which just show that what we're doing is the answer that people are looking for.
Every founder journey is filled with, roadblocks and pitfalls. And, as a founder, you learn a lot of lessons. What's been one of the hardest lessons that you've learned? One of the hardest challenges you've had to face, Scott. How did you solve that? And what did you learn along the way?
Yeah, so for me, probably there are a couple of things that I've found really hard as a founder, actually. One of them is accepting money for a founder is always an issue. And for me, that I'm no different to any other founder. I've had offers from friends and family to fund me and basically fund me for the developer of the product for the last 3 years. But I didn't want to take their money until I knew I had something that was actually buildable, scalable, and ready to go. So that for me is always, I've struggled with that. It would have made my life so much easier accepting their money 2 years ago, but I've just bootstrapped things. I'd go away and I'd earn some money and then I'd put it into the business, and I'd earn some money, then I'd put it into the business. So that has been, at one stage there I was working on average about 70 hours per week between 2 jobs and trying to make money to get this thing built. So that's probably been the hardest thing for me is getting to a point and then accepting my friends and family's money, because now it's not just me, whereas before it's always just been me. Now I'm responsible to other people who are good friends, so I need to make sure this thing works.
One of the most important, I think, obligations of any founder is the obligation to do the absolute best you can once you've taken on other people's money. And it weighs heavily on you, doesn't it? Like I've felt it myself, the responsibility to really deliver value back to the people that have trusted you with their money.
Yeah, 100%. I think of that every day.
Yeah, and it makes sense, right? On the founder journey, we all learn lots of things. What's something you've learned in the last couple of years since you started Gen Aqua that you wish you knew when you started?
Oh dear. Nothing's real until it's real. For me, the founder journey, I came into the founder journey very naive. To be honest, I look back on 3 years ago and think, wow, how naive was I? Had a great idea. Everybody's telling me, hey, that's the best thing. It's a game changer. But turning great advice and it's a game changer, etc., into something real and then getting money to develop that something real. Nothing's real until it's on paper or the money's in the bank is effectively one of the big lessons that I've learned. And I'm a technical person, not necessarily, certainly my forte is in technology and developing technology and systems. And so the founder journey, you have to wear many, many hats. And that has certainly been a learning process, which I'm enjoying. I love every day.
It is such a good saying, nothing's real until it's real. You're absolutely right. A contract isn't real until it's signed. An invoice isn't real until it's paid. An investment isn't real until the money's in the bank. And all those things really, important for founders to understand, because founders can get a lot of hope from the conversation and they can build a lot of trust and make a lot of decisions based on a conversation that hasn't actually translated into a real outcome yet.
Yeah.
Great
100%. 100%. One of the things that I like to say, and certainly my wife has noticed, I used to be like this, like you'd get someone and say something, so your emotions would be way up here, and the next day or over the coming weeks, it's down here. And so you're continually doing that. Whereas now I tend to take a bit more of an even focus, and nothing's real until it is.
What's been a pivotal moment or a breakthrough that has changed the trajectory of Gen Aqua?
Yeah. So there's a couple. First was I applied for an Ignite Spark grant, and that introduced me to the world of accelerators. I didn't know they existed, well, a year and a half ago. And suddenly there's this whole other ecosystem of accelerators and founders. And so that was a pivotal moment, and that it introduced me to that. But then I also applied to the Alex Health Accelerator. And I've got to say that the Alex Health Accelerator is something that I would recommend to absolutely everybody. And I was actually named Alex Health Startup of the Year this year. And the publicity that's given me and just recognition that, hey, if they believe in what he's doing, that it must be something real. And that certainly has been a pivotal moment. It's opened up doors. It's, we're here today potentially talking because of exactly that.
Congratulations, Scott. It's a huge achievement to get recognised as the company and solution of the program. So you're a technical person, you come from small business, and you really didn't know that this world of startups and accelerators and this ecosystem existed. How many other people out there are like you? They see really important problems to solve, and they go about solving them in a world where they could have all this support and help and advice. Has it accelerated your progress by going through an accelerator program?
Oh, most definitely, yes. As a technical founder, the advice and the resources and the mentoring and the coaching that is available through an accelerator is, without it, I'd probably still be trying to raise money, and I'd still be, I wouldn't understand what a safe note was, what a convertible note was, all of those things which are essential for a founder. I just wouldn't be there without that support and that sort of encouragement from within, certainly Alex Health.
Lots and lots of people have great ideas. Translating those great ideas into solutions and then building businesses is really hard. And I see it often that people overvalue the idea and undervalue the effort it takes to translate ideas into business and products that are viable and scalable. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, it's, I think no, I don't want to say that. I was going to say if I knew what I know now, I might not have started, but that's not the truth. I love opportunity and I love a challenge, but it certainly isn't as easy as you think it's going to be, and I think it's very important. As I said, I'm funded, or a lot of my capital raises come from friends and family, and they're very supportive of what I'm doing. And I think without that sort of background of support network of people that are there, and they're there to support you, not because they've put money, they've been supporting me for 3 or 4 years, on this journey. Now they have a stake in the business. But I think that is one of the crucial things for founders, is just to get involved in an accelerator or find some good mentors or coaches and a support network that assists you on the journey, because it's not an easy one.
You're not a 25-year-old founder. You've been around the block a while, right? You've started a couple of businesses. You've worked in big businesses. How was the transition from corporate life into startup life?
Yeah, it was, look, for me, as I've said a couple of times, it's all about opportunity for me. So, to found Gen Aqua, I left a 6-figure income job, very comfortable, doing what I was doing. So basically no income for 3 years. I understood that, and I understood the risk. I'm not so sure that my wife did. We're still married, which is
well done.
And she's also very supportive, but it really changed our way of life and how we've, how we live. We're certainly a lot more frugal than we used to be. When you earn it, you spend it. When you don't have it, you're basically saving in every dollar. And that's kind of what it's been for me. It was a huge shock, but we understand the goal, and we understand where we're working towards. And, I firmly believe that we can actually make a difference in the world with what we're doing. So that's the driving factor.
Mate, it's cool to see people go all in, and it's really what's required. If you're going to found a company, you kind of have to burn the bridges, so to speak, and, burn the boats and go all in. You have to win. You have to want to win. And I think that the best founders understand that. But it also takes an awful amount of energy and mindset and resilience. And I'm curious, how do you manage your energy? How do you maintain the mindset? How do you manage your relationships at home and with all the people that you've got to manage relationships while you're building this really important company? And it's been quite challenging for the last couple of years, right?
Yeah. So look, for me, back in my early days, I was a professional cyclist. So in terms of motivation, I used to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning and go ride for 5 hours, and that most of the time was by myself. So from a motivation factor, it's never been an issue for me. I'm up at 4 nearly every morning and off either cycling or start work. So that's and it's also, I think it's very important for me anyway. It is very important. I take time out you can't work nonstop. So for me, cycling it's the one thing that I do, and I try and do it 5 days a week to just stop thinking about business, go out, socialize with friends, just have a good old laugh and enjoy what I'm doing. It just gives you, and I think it's something that you absolutely need to do is learn to take time for yourself.
Yeah, I totally agree. That prioritizing time for yourself is an investment in both yourself. It's also an investment in the business, and you become a role model for the people around you because it gives them the approval to also invest in themselves. And I think that creates a healthy culture and a healthy business, and you need that as you scale.
Yeah, I do agree.
2026 is a big year for you guys. What's coming up and how do people get involved?
Yeah, so we're in the middle of a trial with a health facility here in Brisbane, or in Queensland, I should say, where we've got our devices installed and we're taking water sample tests each week to verify that we're killing bacteria in where our device is installed. I'm pleased to report that the first results have come back and we have no bacteria where our devices are, but the hospital itself does have some bacteria, which is great for us, probably not so good for them. So we're aiming to increase those pilot trials, and one of the things that we need to do is source other sites where we can potentially install our devices, do some befores and afters just to further prove that our technology works and can easily be retrofitted and just develop the product.
When will the product be commercially available to buy and market?
Yeah. In May, June, our product will be watermarked and we will have product available in market ready to be sold. We're also working on having pre-orders as with that watermark process takes place. So watermark can take 3 to 6 months to achieve. While that's happening, we're working or looking to work with health boards, with aged care to get pre-orders, get some pilots into their sites so that they have a solution as soon as we're able to sell it.
So Gen Aqua is at the point of getting final approval and testing so that it can be sold commercially. It sounds to me like if you're killing bacteria in water at point of use, there must be huge applications for that globally. What are some of the markets that you're thinking about?
Yeah, so the market is huge. Initially, we're looking at certainly the Australian market. Here in Australia, there are about 90,000 hospital beds. So if we use the 5 water outlets per hospital bed, that sort of says that there's 400,000, 450,000 opportunities for us to sell our devices. One of the first places that we definitely are looking at is the UK. They test a lot more bacteria in their water, and because they test a lot of other bacteria in their water, they have a larger problem. And they don't have any solution to that. And I'll just give you an example of one of those. There's a bacteria called Pseudomonas aeruginosa. It's a bit of a mouthful. But we don't test for it here, or generally we don't test for it here. But in the UK, they do. And it's responsible for hospital-acquired infections. People have a bed bath or a shower in hospital and end up with a wound infection and potentially they're back in hospital. In the UK, part of what the NHS documents say that should you get a high Pseudomonas infection, they throw the basin out, throw the tap out, and in some instances, they remove sections of pipe from within the wall because they don't have a solution to it. So for us, we kill Pseudomonas, by the way, but for us, that's certainly a target market, is to jump into the UK. And I do have some contacts, again, that can assist us into that market that are influencers over there. So the US, everywhere. I mean, if you do a search for Legionnaire's disease, which again is the one that makes the headlines, you'll see that it's occurring all across the US, it's occurring across Europe, Asia. It's there and there isn't a solution.
Scott, 2026 is definitely going to be a big year for Gen Aqua. Really excited to see how you and the company go launching the product commercially for the first time. It sounds like you have a unique solution to a problem that is really widespread. Hopefully there's some amazing people listening to this that go, hey, we should be talking to Scott. And if you are, please connect with Scott after this. Scott's details are in the show notes. Scott, how can people get in touch with you?
Yeah, so send me an email, jump on our website. We've got a contact form there, or give me a call. I'm happy to talk. And as I said, key for us moving forward is we will be looking for investment again next year, a seed round to scale up production and look at those other markets. But in the interim, if anyone is out there that has a facility that's maybe got some immunocompromised patients and you've got a bit of Legionella or other bacteria in your water, please reach out. We'd love to come and have a chat to you and throw some of our devices in and just show you how quickly the problem can go away.
That is fantastic, Scott. Let's finish with rapid fire questions. You ready for these?
Yep, go for it.
Coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Morning or night?
I'm a morning person.
Beaches or mountains?
Beaches. I live on the Gold Coast.
You can't say anything else then, right? Books or podcast?
I'm an old-fashioned book guy. Yeah, I love reading a book.
Do you prefer to work in the office or do you prefer to work at home?
I prefer the office.
And is it gym or cardio?
Cardio for me.
Cyclist by heart. Lastly,
Yes.
Legacy or lifestyle?
Legacy. Most definitely legacy. Yeah.
Love it, Scott. Thanks so much for being on 7 Questions. It's been great to learn more about you as a founder and your founder journey, and great to learn about Gen Aqua, the problem you're solving, the way you're solving it, how unique it is, how big it is. Mate, we wish you all the best and look forward to seeing you go from strength to strength.
Great. Thanks very much, Wayne. I appreciate all you're doing.
Thanks for listening to this episode of 7 Questions. If you'd like to learn more about the founders, you can get a link to the full show notes in the description below. Have a great day. We look forward to you joining us on the next episode.